All right, folks. Welcome back to Stream Catchers. Actually, with an episode of Bad Batch to review. I am one half of your host, AB.
Hello there. I'm Jack. What's going on?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Got like we said, episode. What was this? Episode 12 of the
I
Bad
believe
Batch.
so.
So, what'd you think? Rescue on Ryloth.
It was good. It was kind of the ending, the second half, the better half of the Hera arc that was introduced last week. Last episode was a little weak. It was a lot of exposition. It was a lot of Hera and not a whole lot of the batch. And this episode was a nice, even balance that I could get down with. What do you
I
think?
agree. I agree. Yeah, I think last week was definitely underwhelming, but I came out of it thinking we obviously are going to have a quick follow up to this. That last week's episode set the table. This episode gave you the feast, and it was a good episode. I got to see a lot more Hera, got to see a lot more of the batch, which was very welcome, and some decent fallout that I think is going to lead to a strong finish to the season. So I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm a big
Um,
fan of the Omega Hera friendship. I think that really that stands out to me. That was a good heartwarming friendship.
yeah, it is. It's good. It's good. And I think I've talked about it before. I think that we might see some Omega outside of this show down the line.
Probably.
I don't think that we've seen the end of Hera as well. You haven't finished Rebels yet, have you?
No, I am almost halfway through season 2 of Rebels. I just watched the two-parter with Captain Rex and the remainder of his squads. That was kind of cool to see.
Okay, well then I will bite my tongue and not say anything else. But I mean,
Okay, I appreciate
um,
that. Thank you.
sure,
I'll
sure,
get to
sure,
it very soon for sure.
sure. So yeah, we may see some Omega down the road with Hera, but we'll see what happens there. But this was a much better episode, and I'm much more optimistic for the rest of it, which we'll get into. The rest of it being the rest of the season. We'll get
hmm
into that in a bit. Just a quick rundown of the episode. We're assuming you've seen it. We're assuming you know what's happening. So if you haven't watched it, you're about to get some heavy spoilers. But it's
Yep.
very simple. We left off episode 11 with Hera's parents and some other allies get arrested by the Empire. This episode picks up where they are in the holding cell. Hera sends a distress signal to the Bad Batch to come and help. They do. They come up with a quick plan to set up a diversion at a refinery far away from where Hera's parents and their allies are being held. So while that's going on, Hunter and Echo scale the wall. They free Hera's parents, and they're about to escape when Captain Hauser, the clone, he stops them and says, "You're about to get ambushed." They go a different way. They get away and make some friends along the way, while Captain Hauser and some of the other clones get arrested for, I guess, treason. And
Yeah.
and that's and then our episode ends with Crosshair getting permission to hunt down the batch. So that was
hmm
probably the highlight for me. What about you? What do you want to talk about first?
Well, I'll just say since you just said it, I think that this is kind of where the antagonist, Crosshair, where his motivation, where his focus is going to go, is really going to determine. This is going to determine the rest of the show, right? I mean, Crosshair being on their tail is definitely the direction that this show needed to, I think.
I agree. It took us a long time to get there. I had been asking and asking and asking for it.
hmm
We had stretches of episodes, 4 or 5 at a time, where he wasn't even around.
hmm
And now it seems like he is finally going to not only be in the episode, but is going to be a big part of it. And I feel like these last 4 episodes are all going to be interconnected in sort of a way that with Clone Wars you had 4 episode arcs where each episode ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, and you're anticipating the next episode. I don't think we're going to have any more throwaways, which
Yeah.
is welcome. So that is exciting. What do you think we can expect to see with this? Do you see any returning heroes or returning villains or anything like that?
Well, I would like to see Fennec and Cad Bane show up again. I don't know what function. I guess their function would be, to bring the Kaminoans back in, right? Because they're kind of, or Fennec at least, is kind of the surrogate for Nala Se, who wants to keep Omega safe.
Yeah.
So, hopefully we'll get a little more of that. Hopefully we'll get, it would be interesting to have one more revelation about Omega's identity, her function, why she was created, stuff like that. But I don't know. I think it would be really cool to have a Darth Vader cameo. I think it would be unfortunate if Tarkin is not in these last 4 episodes. I don't know. What are you thinking?
I would love a Vader cameo, but I think that's a big ask, and I think a little out
Okay,
of place for this.
maybe
I
so.
would I would be I would be thrilled. I'm all about Vader, so I think it's probably my favorite Star Wars character. So
Hmm.
throw him in there, and I'll be here to enjoy it. I definitely think that we haven't seen the last of the Kaminoans, which means we haven't seen the last of Cad Bane and Fennec, which is my biggest hope is to see them. I think even having Crosshair hire Cad Bane and sort of they're both Crosshair and the Prime Minister are seeking out the Bad Batch. Maybe there's some sort of a partnership there with them. Um, I definitely think we're going to see more Cad Bane. I think we're going to see more Fennec. Um, I don't know if there is much more to reveal for Omega and sort of the why she was created. I guess perhaps. I mean, we don't really know why Boba Fett was created either, do we? So I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
think
if
it was
there's.
just part of that was Django's condition is that he wanted one clone without the accelerated aging for himself. I think he just wanted a son. I don't think there's really any more motivation than that.
I didn't know that. Okay, that makes sense. So
Yeah, maybe
um,
Nala Se wanted a daughter. I don't know. I don't know.
could be, and that would explain why she is so protective of Omega
Yeah.
and so invested in keeping her safe. So um, I think that we're just going to get some really fun action-packed episodes, and I think a Crosshair versus Hunter fight sequence
Oh
would be
man.
quite a bit of action and fun.
Or maybe a revenge fight. A Cad Bane. Cad Bane smoked Hunter. It
Oh
would be cool to
man,
see him take his get his mojo back and take down Cad Bane.
I if we don't get more Cad Bane, I think that would be the biggest disappointment for me. That was such a fun reveal and then follow up episode to see him,
Yeah.
and I've been disappointed that we haven't seen him again. I will try not to beat the dead horse that I've already obliterated over the last few weeks, but we've gotten a lot more of this show than we needed, and I think that a little bit less we could have seen would have helped us see a little bit more of Cad Bane, and
Mhm.
that was probably my favorite part of the show so far. So hopefully he comes back around and gets that fight with Hunter. Hunter gets revenge.
I think that'd be really, really nice to see.
Yeah,
I,
absolutely.
I I also think it'd be really cool to see Hondo Onaka. We haven't seen him yet.
I would love to see
Legendary
Hondo.
space pirate outlaw Hondo Onaka.
Hondo, he was really a fun part of Clone Wars. He
Yeah,
hasn't popped up in Rebels yet, has he?
he hasn't. I'm looking
Okay,
forward to it. But
yeah,
he had multiple arcs in Clone Wars, and each one was really fun.
absolutely. He was a really well written character and a welcome addition. So he would be a welcome addition to this show as well. Um, I would love to see Captain Rex pop back up. I'm wondering if we are going to see somewhat of a team up down the
Hmm.
line. Where because when you look at it, when you really break it down, it's four guys and a kid against Crosshair and the whole Empire.
Hmm.
Uh, maybe they do form a partnership with Fennec at some point. If Captain Rex can come back in and help them out, if the Deserter can come back and help them out, Saw Gerrera, Hera and her parent, like if we could get some like big team up to help
Yeah,
with a lot of the clones, so that they can, whenever that final battle with Crosshair does happen, that would be a really fun final
yeah,
battle
yeah.
sequence.
Mace Windu, get him in the mix.
What
If you're,
callback? That's
yeah,
the
if you're
that is
if you're not watching this on YouTube, you got it. That was a great reaction. I'm so glad I got you with that.
that that's the one silver lining with this show being so long, so many episodes. Is it's been so long since you speculated that Mace Windu would come up. But like that was the perfect callback. Yeah. For folks that have not been watching us review Bad Batch all along, there was a point where there was a cloaked figure that we were left with speculating on who it would be. And Jack, of course, thought that it was going to be Mace Windu. It turned out to be Captain Rex. Mace Windu would have been a massive ask considering he's dead. But that was what Jack thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Well, he's strong with the Force. I mean, Lord Sidious came back. You know, anything could happen.
He cloned himself, though.
Yeah, I know.
Big difference. One, he is strong with many ways of the Force that could be considered unnatural. Mace Windu is not. But yeah, I think that would be my hope, is that we get some like big battle and all the characters that we've seen, Rafa and Trace, all these characters come back and we have this really big final battle. It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'd be cool if maybe if some of them teamed up to break Hauser and some of these clones out, so we had a little more of an ally force.
I agree. So let's talk about Hauser. I saw last week there were those scenes where he seemed hesitant and not completely in line with the Empire and their ideals, and that was even more so in this episode. And of course, we see.
I mean, he was kind of the MVP of this episode, even.
Really, well, that's a fair. I think so too. Yeah, that's a good point. He helps out with Hunter and Echo and Hera's parents and their allies and all that. And takes one for the team. Really gets arrested, and he got a lot of other clones to sort of see his way. Not all of them, but this. I think this is going to lead to some stormtroopers. I wonder if by the end of this,
I was going to say, I wonder if this event is going to push Tarkin even further on the stormtrooper path, rather than phase out these clones, because they've got a little bit more morality than they want.
I agree, and I am curious as to how they're able to do this, given that they all have inhibitor chips that weren't taken out.
Yeah, I wish that's another one of my notes. I wish that the Bad Batch would have told Hauser about the inhibitor chips.
They kind of had to get away quick, though. There was a moment where Hunter looks back at him to almost imply that he wants to stay and help, but is like, no, I got to get out of here. Yeah. And so, I wonder if they do save Hauser and those clones.
That'd be cool. I think Hauser's kind of a cool character. It's cool to get these clones that are just that. They're just clones, but they're so much more. Rex, Cody, Fives, Heavy, all these different named clones that we have that have such. I mean, even Echo has his own. They're just default regular clones, but they're so much more than that. They're very cool characters in their own right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I thought it was cool to bring a clone back too, because that was such a big part of Clone Wars for obvious reasons. And outside of the Batch and Crosshair, you don't really get any personality and character out of any of the clones we've seen. So getting another one, sort of a tip of the cap to Clone Wars, which a lot of the show has been, I feel, another way to sort of pay homage, if you shall, to the Clone Wars show.
Yeah. Kind of a season 8. It's kind of a Clone Wars season 8 without it being actually Clone Wars, because it's there's no room for more Clone Wars because Order 66 happened, but this is kind of the nice natural progression of that. You kind of see the fallout of Order 66 and how the clones are affected.
Yeah, and I think I've talked about it much early on in our reviews of these. You don't really see a lot of early Empire era Star Wars. Everything that we've seen has been deep into it. Obviously, the original trilogy was all the end of it, and then Rebels was a little bit closer to that. Rogue One was was definitely closer to that. This is the tip of the beginning. So we don't even have stormtroopers yet. We haven't seen Vader. Who knows what's going on there? This was a really good way to continue Clone Wars and give us some early era Empire stuff that in a way that makes sense, where obviously you can't really do much with Jedi. They're all supposed to be in hiding or dead. So this is a really fun way to have a hero type characters and things like that, and make it interesting, and show us also the beginnings of the Empire.
Yeah, well, that's something that I didn't know going into Rebels, is that it was going to focus on Jedi a little bit, and I didn't know how they would do that with the Jedi needing to be in hiding. But they do a good job of actively being hunted in that show, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Rebels is such a good quality show. Very slept on, I think. I mean, if you're a diehard Star Wars fan, you've probably seen it, but it doesn't get talked about enough, I think, in the context of the Star Wars universe. It's a strong show, and I think this show has been up and down at times, but pretty comparable.
Yeah, not to get further off the rails, but I do think that one of the weak points of Rebels is the animation. I think that it's a great show, but I'm not really a fan of the way that it's animated. And I think that, like, even more specifically than that, I think that the lightsabers being all stick thin, I think it's very weird, and I'm just not a fan of it.
Yeah, that was my biggest gripe too. Is it's such a contrast to Clone Wars and this. I'm glad they went back to this style for Bad Batch and they didn't stick with the Rebels style. I think Rebels was on Disney Channel, and so I think it was just different animators that would have done it. And I don't know, maybe they brought the same people back from Clone Wars, but yeah, I definitely agree. That was my biggest gripe with this.
Yeah,
those lightsabers are annoyingly thin.
I figured I wasn't the only one in thinking that.
Yeah, it's like they look like toothpicks.
They do, yeah.
I'll be honest, Jack. I don't have a ton of notes.
The only other thing that I have written down is this episode had another instance of Crosshair predicting the Bad Batch's moves, having been a member of the Bad Batch. But that's outside of that. That's my only other note.
Yeah, I agree. It just again it displays his intellect, and I think his instincts in battle, and just really further solidifies him as he's not just a clone. Obviously, none of the Batch were just clones, but he's the real deal. He's a real threat, and you can't get anything by him. And
I think that he's going to be the go-to guy for hunting these guys down, the hunting the Bad Batch down, if he's that able to predict their next move. He'd be the go-to guy to take them down.
I will say they have done a very good job at making him be a believable lead villain in the show. Mm-hmm. And I had been asking for him forever. I'm glad that he's been around these last few episodes. And I'm looking forward to. I think these last 4 episodes are going to be as strong as those middle 3 or 4 episodes. I think that we're about to have quite a finish to the show.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I think that'd be really good for the show. I mean, it's time, obviously. I'd like to see a little more character development with the elite squadron, or whatever you want to call it, the elite soldiers. I forget what they're called. The other black armored guys that hang out with Crosshair.
I don't think we're going to get much more development.
You don't think so?
I don't. I mean, maybe we do. Maybe there's an episode where Crosshair sends them out to hunt down the Batch, and we get some interaction, and maybe they get beaten by the Batch, or maybe they snag Omega or something like that, and that draws the Batch out. Maybe I could see something like that happening. I mean, I don't think we're going to get in. I mean, there's not enough time, I don't think, to really develop any more character with them. But I could see something like that where they get sent out on a mission rather than Crosshair.
Yeah. So I just think that they're kind of the only characters that are still around that we haven't really gotten to know. You know what I mean? Like we say every week that we don't really know that much about Tech and Echo, but they're in every episode at least enough that we kind of get a grip of their major characteristics. Whereas these, every member of the elite squadron is interchangeable to me. I don't know any of them from one another. They're Crosshair's posse now.
Sure, and the one character that they actually did give time and lines to got shot the first episode.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd like to maybe even see a little more resentment between Crosshair's group and Crosshair's squad and Crosshair. That'd be kind of interesting.
See, and that's my thing. Why did we get so many episodes of them doing side missions for Sid? Like when we could have had stuff like that.
To fill the episode count, I guess. I mean, that's the only argument I've got.
bring the horse in so I could beat it down. We didn't need, it's like if we could have just,
I know.
if this could have just been a 10 episode show, I think I get it. I appreciate it for what it is. It's a nitpick. If you have been paying attention for these last few weeks, you've heard me bitch and complain about it for
Mhm.
every episode, but it's annoying. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it
agree.
feels like it could be a shorter show. Honestly, I feel like if I had my way with this show, it would be 40-minute episodes, 10 episodes per season. I think that would fit perfectly.
Right. Yeah. Because then you could have still did a Sid episode to at least explain how they're getting credits.
Hmm.
Um, and like they have like some ally that can provide information on like who Finnick is and things like that. But then
Hmm.
you also could have had, things like development for the Elite Squadron and
You could
all these other
drop
things.
into an episode in the middle of action, in the middle of a Sid mission that you know nothing about. You don't need any context. And then, you still have, you can do that and focus on that for like 10 minutes and still have 30 minutes left of an episode. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
And
they could finish up their mission, get the next one, and then that's the actual episode. And I think we have that even in this show, but it's like they have to move so fast that it's like it just doesn't work. It doesn't work in like a 25-minute whatever it is timeline.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that if you were going to do 25-minute episodes, it needed to be, I guess it needed to be what it was. Because I mean, realistically, there wasn't anything super wrong with the show. It's been a good show.
Yeah.
And I think that these next few episodes are going to be really good as well. There's probably 4 episodes in there that we just didn't need, to be completely
Hmm.
honest. And that's okay. It is what it is. We said it last week. I don't think we would have these gripes if we were just watching this casually. It
Right.
would just be like Bad Batch is a pretty good the way. I mean, like, could you imagine doing Clone Wars for 7
Oh
weeks?
my God. There are so
Yeah,
many episodes that are so unnecessary. There's so many Jar
it
Jar Binks episodes, Padme
yeah,
episodes, C3PO R2D2 episodes, like that's filler. And it's
could you
okay. It's okay in that kind of cartoon, but yeah, week to week it wouldn't have worked.
could you imagine if we had to squeeze out 15 to 20 minutes talking about a Jar Jar episode?
Nope.
There's
I
no
don't
way,
know what
man.
we would have done. Oh yeah, and that time he did the flip and stepped in the poopy. That was great. That was so funny. Like nobody cares. Nobody cares, Jar Jar. Show me Jedi. Give me the damn Jedi.
Oh man. Yeah, it has been a good show, and I think anybody that likes Star Wars should definitely check it out. Especially at this point, like if you have been skipping it,
Hmm.
go ahead and binge it because you're and get caught up in time for these last 4 episodes. I really do think these last 4 are going to be strong, and
True.
I don't think that if you watched 12 in a row, I don't think you'd be disappointed. I think the only way that you'd be disappointed is if you were doing a podcast, you had to squeeze out 20 minutes talking
Yeah.
about Sid and other weird things. So
Yeah. If you were to
um,
binge up to any point and then go week to week, I feel like now would be the perfect opportunity to jump on it.
absolutely, absolutely. So and this episode itself, like there wasn't a lot happening, but it was a good episode.
Mm-hmm.
It was because they spent so much time in the episode prior of really
Yeah.
addressing everybody on Ryloth and who these characters were. This is the best example of what you said. These 2
Mm-hmm.
episodes could have been one single episode,
And it would have been perfect.
and it would have been perfectly fine. Whereas, yeah, they had to split them up. Was what it was. We just had to wait a week for the payoff, which I suppose that's just us being spoiled in the era that we live in. If this was
Yeah.
2004, it would just be what it is, right? But in 2021, when we're used to getting Stranger Things all at once, it
Yeah.
does become it does make it harder to watch something that isn't as satisfying. You have to wait a week to get the payoff.
Right. And I hope that they do a better job with the episodes moving forward, because it does almost feel like we're gonna get one arc, one 4-episode story arc with the last 4. I hope they do a little bit better with the cliffhangers, a little bit better evening out the interesting bits of content. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it would be a lot to ask for them to do it as well as they did the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars, but it's something similar to that at least
Yeah.
would be really satisfying. I mean, if you're not
Yeah.
familiar with the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars, it was the best bit of that show, all 7 seasons of it, and
Yep.
every episode felt like a movie. I don't know if it's fair of us to ask that for this show, because it's not what this show is, but I would not be upset if that's what we got.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here.
So that's all I got, folks.
Yep. That covers my notes.
All right. Well, thanks for sticking around with us to the end. If you did, if you want to support the show, the best way to do so is to share it on your social media. Let your friends know. If you want to let us know how you thought of the episode and what you think we're going to see in the next few episodes, our social media accounts are in the show notes, or you can leave a comment on YouTube. And until next time, folks, that's it.
Yeah. We will catch you later.